Hello. Okay, awesome. Welcome everybody to the very first Fireside chat here at Perinatal Support Washington. I want to welcome you all. And if you're joining us on Facebook Live, we have something very exciting for you. And we want you to interact and join in and ask questions and participate. Um, First, let me introduce myself. My name is Dr. Ayanna Gore. I am the Interim Executive Director here at PSY. And I am your host today. And we have a very exciting guest for our fireside chat. And we have Victoria, who is the lead of our Warm Line program. And in a second, I'm going to go into and have Victoria introduce herself and share a little bit more about like what does it mean to lead the warm line, and share more about what her work is. But first, fireside chat. What is this? This is your opportunity, your chance to just hear a little bit more about the humans that work behind PSY, to learn more about our partners, to learn about more about our community and our stakeholders. And we're just hoping to start dialogue and conversation about this mission and this work, which is to about this mission and work, which is all about ensuring that perinatal mental health is a norm for everyone. All righty. I'm going to pause real quick before I toss it just to make sure we're all good to go on a Facebook live stream.
Yeah, sorry, I just got a text from Melissa saying she's waiting for the live to go up. So I don't know if it's on there.
Got it.
It is
did you launch it?
on.
And if this does go live and it's here, we're gonna give it up for Kimiko because, like I said, it's our first time doing this.
Yes,
Yes, we
is
are
live.
live.
Okay.
We're at the 2-minute 50-second mark.
Okay, and it's been shared out on. Yes. Oh, I see it, Victoria. We are live. Okay, and so with that said, please just introduce yourself and what do you do here at Perinatal Support Washington?
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Gore. So my name is Victoria Cherinak. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the senior program manager for the Warm Line here at Perinatal Support Washington. And I've been here 6 years in many different roles, but started supporting the Warm Line part-time, and now it's my full-time job.
Oh, well, I went on mute. Awesome. Thank you so much. So we're just gonna get right into it. And and this is really natural, just want to hear from you. And first, can you just tell me a little bit more about what are just like your current objectives right now in your work? What are you striving and working towards?
Well, I guess I would say the Warm Line running smoothly. So I'm not sure. Is it okay if I talk a little bit about like what we do on the Warm Line? Because not everybody knows what a Warm Line is.
Yeah, tell me more. Yeah, you're right. What is it? What's a warm line? What do you offer? What do you work?
And there's a lot of things that we do differently than what people would think of as a warm line. So our warm line is a peer support warm line, which means we have parents who answer our warm line who have a lived experience of a perinatal mental health issue. So that means if you are a parent calling in, you're going to talk to somebody who gets it. So we have staff, we have volunteers, and we have interns who all staff our warm line. We answer live Monday through Friday, 9 to 4:30. So you can pick up the phone and give us a call. And if we're not on the other line, we will answer it. And then we also cover off hours too. So we have volunteers who staff evenings and weekends as well. So if you call evenings and weekends, you'd leave a voicemail and we'd get back to you within 14 hours. You can also text and email us as well. We want to use all the communication tools so you can access us. And then there's a couple things that I think have us stand out from other lines. One is peer support. Like, it is so crucial. Peer support is evidence-based. People who are able to talk to somebody who has been through a similar experience, they get on their healing journey faster, they access services. It's just all around wonderful, beautiful thing. And then the other thing that stands out is that we are more than just one call. So if you call or text us and we have that initial conversation, we're going to follow back up with you, because we know the parenting, the postpartum, perinatal period, all of it is a lot to hold, and we don't want people to fall through the cracks. So we're all very much about like providing warm handoffs and supporting parents along that journey. So after talking with us, you will most likely get an email within a day or two, which will have the peer's number that you spoke to, so that you can get back in touch with them if you need to talk with them. We do a lot of wellness planning sometimes on the warm line. So we might talk about like how to get sleep better, or how to like break that isolation that many new parents feel. So we would reiterate all that kind of stuff in an email, as well as provide resources. So our third thing that really stands out, I should finish with what we do, because it's more than just that email too. We will always follow up with parents a week after that we had that first conversation. So we just want to check in and see how you're doing. If you need more resources, if you have new things you want to talk about, if we did wellness planning, how's that going? And at that point, most of the parents who have reached out to us have gotten what they need. But about 26% of parents that contact us want to stay connected to the peer. So oftentimes we're able to do what we call extended peer support, which is basically more of the same. It's checking in with a parent once a week for about 3 months-ish. It's all flexible. We're flexible on the warm line. So, but a peer will check in with a parent, or the parent can reach out and text, or have a conversation weekly about how things are going. So it's kind of like a mentorship relationship, and it's really nice to have that time, because then we can delve more into like, what goals do parents have that they want to work on? How can we help build their social support network, so that what a lot of parents are calling us about is feeling isolated, so that we can break that isolation. And then the third thing that really stands out about what we do on the warm line is we offer targeted resources. So a lot of parents call the warm line looking for a therapist. And if you've ever had to look for a therapist, it can be a really involved process that has a lot of hurdles. We get people who call us who've tried 20 therapists, and they're just in tears because they know that they could feel better if they had somebody to talk to. So we try to take that burden away, because parents have enough on their plates, taking care of themselves and their baby and their partner. So we provide targeted referrals, which means that we will not give out names of therapists or med prescribers unless we know that they take the parents' insurance and that they have availability. So we do a lot of that legwork. So so that's kind of like the warm line, like 5-minute elevator speech.
I'm gonna ask you a question, just very authentically, as I'm hearing about all the amazing stuff that the warm line does. What would you say to the person? And that's somebody who, I have my own story of and journey after giving birth, and I mean leading up to giving birth, and knowing I needed support, knowing having a number I can call, but being nervous of like, well, what do I say when the phone answers, or like I'm still trying to make sense of what I'm feeling, so I don't even know what to say outside of like, right now I just need to cry. What would you say to the person that's like, this is great, what do I need to have prepared? What should I say when the phone is answered? Just, yeah, anybody that might be feeling like that.
Yeah, you don't have to have anything prepared. So all of our peers are trained, but they also come with their own experiences. And I would say, because we are a peer line, it's really about talking to a friend, except sometimes we have friends who aren't very helpful. So, so it is a bit more of that. And, I think oftentimes we start the conversation by saying like, I'm a parent with a lived experience. Like, for instance, like for me, I had a birth trauma and postpartum anxiety. So it might get named right up front. And I think once people who call us know that they're speaking to somebody who has been through it and is a parent, like really the floodgates open. And there's something really releasing being able to be in that space. Whereas a lot of parents are calling us, and I remember this, I'm sure a lot of you out there remember this, is like, we have this baby we really wanted, right? And so we can't say anything bad and we can't feel bad because society doesn't allow us that space to hold the complexities of parenthood, which is like, we love it and we hate it. Like parenting is wonderful and it really like brings you to your knees and it's hard. And I think talking on the warm line, it's the first time that people are able to say the really hard things. Like, I am not liking this. This is so hard. I don't feel like myself. I don't know what to do. And to have somebody go, just to hold that space and go, yeah, I remember that. Or, we talk to parents every day who go through that. It's just so, it's freeing. And, I wish I had called, I wish I had called when I
Yeah.
was going through it, because I
Yeah.
felt alone. And I think, majority of parents feel so alone in what they're feeling because there's no room to say these things in
Yeah.
our society.
I want to know before I ask the next question that I know people are watching us on Facebook. I actually have it up and I see the numbers are growing. So more and more people are tuning in. So if you're just tuning in, we are chatting with our Warm Line program manager, Victoria. And she is just sharing a little bit more about the program, what it is. And if you have questions or you're just curious about the word, please add it into the chat, and we will ask those as well. We've been talking a lot just about like what the Rum Line does and the impact it has. I want to ask you now. I kind of want to swing the pendulum and tell me what are the challenges that you're facing right now with the Warm Line.
Yeah, so um, I think the challenges are really about what's going on in our world in the United States in mental health, especially in perinatal mental health. So we know 1 in 5 birthing parents, 1 in 10 dads will have a perinatal mental health issue like postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety. And we also know that 75% of parents do not get treatment. And both those numbers increase based on, if you're a parent of color. And so the challenges, so one of the great things about the Warm Line is that anybody can call us regardless of insurance, regardless of income. Like we are here, there's no waiting list, right? So lots, depending on your insurance, there might be lots of waiting lists that you have to sit on, and you want to feel better and you just can't access that. So I think like the challenges are a result of the world that we're in, and how systemic racism in the healthcare system and not being able to access services and having services be harmful. And so we are just sitting here waiting for people to call in. And we can't turn off that spigot. We wouldn't want to, right? Like everybody should be able to reach us. But it's, can we serve everybody that comes to us that needs that service? I guess that is one of the challenges. And I think on the Warm Line, like our staff, we're always talking about like the thing that we do is we pivot. Like, because you never know what's coming in our door on a daily basis. And so we're just always like in communication about how to show up for the parents that do come in and how we can support them. So it's just knowing like, trying to balance, like, do we have enough volunteers and staff for who might come in this month? We just had our busiest month ever in April. We had 104 inquiries, which is a lot for us. So yeah, I think that's a challenge. One of the challenges.
As you were sharing that, I heard you threw in dads. Now I know a lot of people think about, and myself included, right? When we think about calling in or who is a support, we often think of moms, and we think of moms no, I think we don't think about moms, no matter how you became a mom, whether you were a birth mom, adoptive mom, etc. But I think we gravitate towards moms in so many different fashions than we do dads. Can you tell us a little bit about what that looks like, or what's happening on the warm line with dads?
Yeah, and I can't believe that I forgot to say that in my little warm line spiel. But yes, so we serve dads as well, and we have a dad specialist who's on staff. He's been with us for a year and a half. Prior to that, we always had volunteers. We are bringing on a new volunteer dad. So we are available for dads to call as well. You don't, if you do call in and you don't want to talk to a dad and you're happy to talk to one of our other warm line volunteers who who are women, that's totally fine. But if you are looking for that connection to talk with another dad, we do have that. And I think that's really powerful because I think, a lot of partners who are not the gestational parent, see it as their role to take care of the gestational parent, the birthing parent, and do everything they can. And that's something we definitely hear from dads who call is like, how can I show up? But nobody asks the dads or the non-gestational partners, how are they doing? And, some things that we know is when a parent is suffering from when the birth parent is suffering from a perinatal mood and anxiety disorder, the partner's risk goes up 50% of also having a perinatal mood and anxiety disorder. So it doesn't happen to one member of the family, like it happens to everybody. And even if they don't end up, developing, postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety, that is a lot to hold, to see your partner suffering. Just to mention the transition to parenthood is just hard regardless. Like we are not just here for people who are having a perinatal mental health issue, but we're also here for people who just need to talk about the hard stuff about parenting.
Yeah.
And can I just add one other
Yeah,
thing?
go ahead.
We do have the warm line. We are a line, but not everybody is going to call. And so one of the ways that we reach dads is we are doing a weekly dad support group that our warm line specialist leads, Nathan. And it's very popular, like it's one of our most popular groups. So something magical is happening in that group. We've been doing it since November. So I think that's a really great way if like calling a line feels scary, is going to that group and getting to be in community with other dads.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Shout out to Nathan and our warm line dads, taking care of mental health supports. And so you brought up and you mentioned how the philosophy, which I think is so transformational, philosophy of like there is no wait list, or especially in a site of like insurance and navigating all of that. And what I can hear a ton around is just like we actually want that to be the least of your worries when you're looking for support. We want people to come in and be ready to engage and not have to worry about like, can this continue, what's next, etc. I know one other thing, and I'll just name being very authentic as a Black woman. Another thing, one type of insurance has been, as a type of concerns, is like, will somebody get it? I have literally have called and reached out to, set up or establish a relationship with, a therapist, office, or etc. And I asked, like, do you have any women of color? Because there's just like that whole added nuance or layer that I think is needed when that plays into the experience of what I'm feeling. And that's real, especially in BIPOC communities. So just wondering, like, what is your, what's the approach? What's the experience there? How should somebody navigate that? How do you know if somebody has that as a preference? How do you go about sharing that or getting that?
Yeah, so definitely when we are like talking about finding a therapist, that is definitely a time to bring it up, or we will hopefully ask if there are any preferences. around a therapist, even just besides, issues, but like demographic preferences for therapists. And we do our best. I like to think of us as being very scrappy in our resources. Like we do have a resource guide, and we also have a directory that's on our website that we primarily use. But sometimes we can't find the therapist that a parent is looking for in those places. And so we will go out, like we have other places that we can kind of search. There's definitely a lack of therapists in our state, and especially a lack of BIPOC therapists. So that's a real concern, and that is definitely something that we try to address in hoping that we find that match. And then also we do have staff who can provide cultural matches for some communities as well, so that because definitely we hear a lot from BIPOC parents calling us just about the medical trauma they went through and it being linked to racism. And so being able to talk to somebody who gets that is just so huge, because it is an issue we hear about a lot on the warm line.
I actually don't know this. Is there a cap or a limit for how many times you can call into the warm line?
There is not. We do we do that extended peer support. But we definitely have people who rolled off of extended peer support, after a couple months because they felt ready, and then something else comes up and they call back. Or we've had people who call back with their second, after they have their second, they call us for their first. So there is no limit. We are here.
What if somebody is listening right now and they're like, well, how do I volunteer? How do I support that space? Or people that may have more interest in learning more of like supporting the warm line work.
Yeah. So we just so twice a year we bring on new volunteers. So we just brought on our spring cohort of our new volunteers. So on our website, there is a link to volunteer, and you fill out a survey. We'll be doing a training again in the fall. So probably this summer we'll start posting about the date, and then I will reach out to you once you fill it out, and we'll set up a time. I will say it's always, I don't know how many cohorts of volunteers that I've done, but it's always so wonderful to spend a weekend with volunteers and get to know them and what brings them to this work. And I will say, like, volunteering is so rewarding. People don't usually volunteer for themselves. It's because they want to give back, either for the support they didn't have or the support they had. But working with volunteers and then knowing my own experience is that the wonderful thing is there's some healing. There is a lot of healing that can happen in being there for somebody else and showing up on the warm line as a volunteer. And I think a lot of people are surprised by that. For me, I started this work 7 years after having my kid. I had gone to therapy. I thought I had done all the work, and really being in this space and providing support to others really gave me a healing that I didn't know that I needed. But it's something that I hear a lot from volunteers, is just how much they get from it.
If you are just joining us, because I see the numbers in Facebook going in, going out, more people are adding in. I'm here today talking with Victoria from our warm line from the Perinatal Support Washington warm line. So if you're just joining in, or if you got shared, Perinatal Support is committed to bringing mental health supports, emotional well-being resources to those in the perinatal period, making that a norm for all communities, no matter who you are, no matter your background, no matter what brought you to parenthood, but knowing that is hard, and it's hard to do that alone. And often parents are doing so much to care for someone else who is caring for you. And we are talking about the Warm Line program. And I want to ask you a question. And I'm curious. I am very curious about what your answer to this. How do you imagine, if any, the warm line evolving in the future? what goals or
Mm.
changes do you feel or hope or wish on the horizon?
Oh, I don't, that's a very big question. Um, so I really like that we ventured into support groups thanks to Nathan. And I think that, you know, I'd like to see us figure out other ways to reach communities that are less likely to call. Um, you know, I there's lots of people who are not going to call a line but need that support. And so that would be, I guess, like something that would be nice to figure out, whether it's like, you know, doing support groups in other communities. Because actually the dad support group has kind of become a little bit of a funnel of like people going to the support group and then reaching out to the warm line. So it could be support groups. You know, for a while we were hoping to do uh, like community liaisons who would be a part of certain communities and just be out in the world, kind of doing the warm line work just without the phone. You know, because the phone can be a barrier, and we want to try to tear down a lot of the barriers. So I think looking at creative ways of finding the parents and doing those warm line calls off of a phone.
Thank you. Um, I think I have like two questions for you. Last question. One being, well, I'm gonna save this one for the last. One is as you think about the many stakeholders that interact with us. So we have people that are volunteers, we have those that receive our services and support, we have funders and donors, we have our staff. Um, Given we have diverse populations and groups, diverse backgrounds, diverse family makeup, given our stakeholders and all of the people that we touch, um, what is what is the one most important like key, no matter your background, no matter what lens you're coming into this space or listening to this space, what is the like one thing somebody should know or take away? Like, because you shared a lot. Just like, what is the bottom line statement that if anybody was like elevator pitch? That's what's the like elevator like warm line does this, and
Mhm.
that's why people should tap into that.
Um, Yeah, parenting is isolating. And then also we get messages about what parenting should be, right? Like
Mhm.
we should do it all. We shouldn't have to ask for help. Um, you know, go on Instagram to, you know, those Instagram moms, you know, who are like all fancy making dinner and they're you know, with their well-behaved kids, like it's a lie to me. It feels like a lie. You know, where's the authenticity of
Yeah,
what parenting is and the setup that we set up for parents to fail. Like, is
yeah,
this why we have so many people who are suffering? Because our country does not support parents. So I guess my takeaway is that calling and being in a space with other people, we can talk
yeah,
about things that people don't often feel safe to talk about.
yeah.
And we can dispel those notions. I mean, you know, I'm a single mom. Um, who you know got a divorce, and I am somebody who does not ask for help. Like I that is so hard for me. Why is that hard? And I talk to so many people who have that same feeling of like we shouldn't ask for help. And then you ask, well, when your friends come to you and they ask you for help, what do
Yeah,
you feel? And they're like, oh, I feel so honored and I'm so
yeah,
there. Like we need to be our own best friends, and we need to like kind of just, you know, flip the script on what parenting's supposed to be. And
yeah,
I guess that is what the warm line can be there for, is to like dispel those myths, to stand with somebody in the hardness, because we also don't allow space for the hardness. Lots of people cry on the warm line, and that's a release. That is releasing. Crying is not bad. Another thing that we're taught in this society. So I think, yeah, that's
yeah.
probably longer than an elevator speech, and I'm not sure.
Look, we
Um,
riding many floors on this elevator. Like, tell me more, tell me more. No, No, that's good. Especially as you were talking, it's so funny because just even today, um, my child is homesick. My child woke up at midnight and literally woke me up every 2 hours because they're sick, they're coughing. And I had another meeting today, and somebody asked me like, "How's things? How's things going?" I was telling them about my son being sick, and they were like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And I was like, "I guess it's okay right now. He's sitting down." And like when I said it out loud, I didn't even realize like, wow, there's a lot going on because how I define like, oh, being okay right now was the fact that I just said, well, my son is sitting down right now, so things are good. And how much even just that small, this is just like a quick check in before heading into a meeting, how much I just needed that moment to just like say, name, a lot is going on.
Mhm.
This is where I'm at right now. And to name, like, and there's a need for that, period. There's mental health supports that's needed, period. There is space and community and conversation, period. And we recognize when you're in that perinatal period, there's even so much more and compounded in this moment. And I'm just going off of what you're saying, just like how unique that situation is, and being able to have somebody that could either to resonate with you,
Mhm.
um, to help listen, and or to provide resources if that's what you need.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
it's
yeah, go
so
ahead.
it's so powerful because I think we bottle things up as parents because we're supposed to be happy and we're supposed to be instantly bonded to our baby. Like so many parents do not bond with their babies right away for whatever reason, and that is normal, but people then go down this road of like, all this crap from society, really, like it gets internalized of I'm a horrible parent, I'm a horrible mom. We feel so much guilt, and so really being able to like voice those things
Yeah,
is so powerful.
yeah,
um it's so powerful. I lead a support group in my volunteer time of new parents, and mostly my job is to be quiet, because they're the peers. My children are a lot older, but I will often say how I did not feel bonded to my baby. And I internalized that because I was like, oh my God, I am the worst mom ever. And just naming that like opens up the floodgates. Like people then start like, talking about their experience. And I say that a lot because I know from what other people are saying that that's probably going on. And so I'm hoping that it gives them permission to say it because
yeah,
people don't talk
yeah.
um about the hard things.
If you guys are just joining us, we are just talking about parenting. How is it hard? And the realities of it and the joys. There's so much there, but there are supports and resources there, in connecting with the Warm Line program here at Perinatal Support Washington. We just had a comment, and thank you so much. If you guys are listening, if anything resonates with you, you have your own story and you're open to share it. Sometimes just even naming or sharing that, like, yep, I'm a mother. I had some struggles and I needed some community, but emotional, um, mental health supports is okay. And that's the goal here, that it is a norm. And to reach out when you have need. Somebody just shared, um, I thought I was all alone after my son was born, and I didn't feel bonded right away. So they're resonating with what you just said, Victoria. So thank you for naming that and sharing that story, because there are many people that are out there that feel that and don't want to, or concerned or ashamed, and this level of shame, and like, where is it coming from to just name that? And then it's like, well, what do we need? Because there's a lot that plays into like why these things happen and what's at play. And so being able to have that support, there. Can you tell me, my last question for you is, and people, please feel free to add more, or anything that's resonate. What has been, and you can get a moment of think time. What has been your most memorable moment working on the Warm Line? What has been your most memorable moment working on the Warm Line? While Victoria's thinking about that for a moment, of course, I would be remiss to name, if you are listening and hearing us chat, or if you're like catching this on replay or rewinding, please know, and you're looking for supports, please check out our website. Support is there for you. Just go to perinatalsupport.org, and you will find more information about our warm line. You'll find our telephone number if you need to call into the warm line. If you think this work is important and you want to donate into this, you can find a link to donate. If you want to share your story, we want to hear your story of conquering inner strength. Please name that. Victoria, what has been your most memorable moment?
I don't know that I can think of a moment because there is so many things. I mean, I guess a couple years ago, so we did some work to get funded by the state, and one of our volunteers had just done amazing. I mean, our volunteers and our staff do amazing work, and that is really the thing that I do want to highlight here is just how much they hold and how much they show up for people. And it is my privilege every day to get to work with my staff, with the staff and the volunteers and the interns, because they give so much and I learn so much from them on the daily. So I'm thinking of this one volunteer who really like a lot of what we do is sometimes advocating. She could not get in to see her doctor. She had moved here with a very limiting insurance from out of state. They were like, we can see you in 2 months. She was feeling suicidal. She could not get help. And this volunteer just kept going and advocating for her and got her assistance. But what was amazing, and I think this happens a lot in the perinatal world, is she turned around, this parent, and was like, how can I get involved? Like, I want to be an advocate too. Like, you helped me so much. What can I do? And she came and spoke about her experience with the warm line, and it was just so powerful. And I think that is what's amazing about the warm line, is that every volunteer cohort, we have people who come back who use the warm line and now are volunteering. So that, I guess, is the most memorable moment. But there's so many, because I get to read monthly what our staff and volunteers are doing, working with people. We send out surveys, and parents find the time to fill out a survey for 5 minutes, and just the things that they say about what was so helpful from the warm line. And a lot of it is talking to somebody who's been there. So yeah. And if I have time, because there's a couple things that I forgot to say about the warm line, if it's okay.
Can I give you one quote somebody put into the chat, and I'm sure you'll find a place, and this resonated with me so much. Crystal said, some people try to make me feel guilty about not spending Mother's Day with my children. I am an active parent, and I just I feel like I needed a day off. Laughing, but very serious. Crystal, I resonate with that so much. It was like, I'm not changing one diaper. I'm not anything. There's so much. It's so much to do. But we wait for this one day. I'm and speaking for myself, I waited for this one day. Like, let me get a rest. Let me get a relaxing moment, because every other day I gotta be on, and that's not realistic. That gets back into the feeling of like, we gotta do it all, and thank goodness for this one day, because then I got this one day off. But no, take your day off, and guess what? You can take one off next week too if you need to.
I mean, there goes into the guilt. Like, I remember I had my kids and I, did a staycation for like Christmas break, and they're teens now, so I'm like kind of feeling done with the kids stuff, and I'm like, let's watch like a heady movie, and they're like, no, and they wanted to watch this animation. I can't remember what it was, but so I like was pouting, and I like posted on Facebook of like, oh, I don't want to watch this. Is it horrible? I shouldn't have asked it, but I'm like, is it horrible of me to like go and watch my own movie? And a friend wrote like, yes, you need to spend that time, because that won't be there forever. And I was just like, oh, first of all, why did I do that? And second of all, like, we need to like normalize, like, we can't always be there for our kids. And we need to take breaks, and sometimes that means walking out of the room while your baby's crying for a couple minutes to take deep breaths and center yourself. And sometimes that means, getting hopefully more than a day off to just go and like take care of yourself. And sometimes it means not having to play Candyland or watch a Disney movie. Like it's okay. Yeah, like anyways, that just what Crystal said just brought back.
And it's so funny. As soon as you said take a break, somebody wrote, and you also should take mental health breaks. Mental health is important. Take a break. So just very much aligned. Victoria, you gonna share a little bit more? What does the warm line do?
Yes. So there's other things that I forgot to say. So I apologize. So our services are in English and Spanish. So we have a Spanish warm line as well. You call the regular warm line and then you would get routed to our Spanish warm line. And we do cover that in our live answer shifts and evenings and weekends as well. And then we also provide interpreters on the warm line as well. And then I just want to say, like, my job is pretty easy because of the people who run the warm line and answer it. We have the best staff, so very committed to this work, and our volunteers and our interns, and it's just a pleasure every day to work with them and be a part of this amazing team that is showing up for parents in Washington State.
There was a question, and luckily one of your colleagues, Karina, answered it in the chat as well. Somebody asked, and so I'll just name it just in case you have anything to add to it. Aisha asked, how do you get a support group started? I would like to start one in my neighborhood. So of course, Karina added in ways to like connect around setting up like trainings or support groups. But is there anything, people are listening in about this warm line, they're saying, well, how do we do that, or how and I know you named about volunteering, but do you have any thoughts? I know you mentioned warm line dads have a support group. Is there any other feedback or suggestions you can name?
Yeah, I mean, we usually, so Perinatal Support Washington, not the warm line, but the whole organization usually does 2 trainings a year to train facilitators to do parent support groups, whether you're starting one yourself or you're with an organization or you're volunteering like I do with another organization. So definitely like go to our website, get on our newsletter, because whenever we have those groups or those trainings, it's like 2.5 days it's been on Zoom. That is available to you to do the training. I've done it. It's a really great training. Yeah. And then I'm sure Karina had a lot more to say about how to get involved, but yeah, go to our website, get on our newsletter, email us.
I appreciate that. And a lot of our trainings are virtual. So no matter where you are throughout this state, whether you are Eastern Washington, Western Washington, no matter where you are, we offer supports virtually. Also, if you are tapping into us even outside of Washington, there are organizations across the nation, and we're part of a larger umbrella of an organization, PSI. And I know you can find programs to offer supports to you all if you're catching us and connecting with us. What I'll say, go ahead, Victoria, look like you wanted to.
Yeah, so just to mention, for people outside of Washington State, there's the maternal mental health hotline, which is 24/7. I don't have the number here, and I should have done that. But if you're not in Washington State, you can give them a call, and you will talk to somebody right away. So that's a really, really great resource.
Yeah. Oh, you just okay. We're gonna close out. I will name this is a question, and Victoria does not. I don't think I've ever thought to Victoria about this. It just I don't know what you just said to make this trigger to me. I also know, as we're talking about stigmas and we're talking about parents and we're talking about what is being told to us, there is a and probably no surprise to you, as you know, my background has been in education and working with youth and whatnot. There's also this pool of parents. There's our teen moms, and we know it's been like glorified on MTV and spaces of like different spaces of like Teen Mom, but we saw, and as you can see in those spaces, or people may have lived experience checking this out as well, that there's still parents, they're still going through the same mental health supports and needs and resources, and maybe even additional given the other levels of complexity with the age and whatnot. And I was just curious if there are any just like teen moms out there that are tapping into this is social media. They may come across this or looking on Facebook or etc. Are they able to call into our warm line? Could they get support? I know some people, maybe they don't have insurance or they're on their parents. Would somebody be able to direct them to anything if anybody had a question?
Yes, yeah, we get teen parents calling us all the time. We have some volunteers who were teen parents. Yes. And like I said, if we don't know the resource in our book, we will find it. If there's a resource out there, we will find it for you.
Victoria, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for giving up a portion of your time, because I know you are super busy, into bringing in just like some insights. If you don't get anything but one thing from our time together, I hope it is that take care. Get the care you need and get into community. And if you're in here in Washington, one space to do that is calling in and tapping into our warm line. If you are outside, checking, there are maternal mental health hotlines. Call in, get the support. It is not anything to be ashamed of. Let's normalize getting into community, getting to this in support. Thank you so much, Victoria. Thank you, Warmline and team. I know your team is very proud of you and working, and we are so proud of them and the work that they do each and every day and day and night, because I know they work really late and to support to bringing these resources. Thank you all if you have more questions, if people are watching us, please feel free to add more and we can follow up with you after this. Please share this out. The more people hear about these resources, the more people understand the stories and the narratives behind it and the importance, the more we can normalize this type of support. All right. I hope you guys have a great day. Happy Wednesday. I almost said Thursday. I'm trying to push it. Happy Wednesday. Have a great day.
Thank you.